Hello YouTubers and YouTubies, NorthcoastT here. Today we're working on a 2005 Chevy Equinox. It's the LT version and all-wheel drive, but none of that matters. Today we're going to be replacing the radiator. So, in order to do that, you have to remove this front bumper. Now the tools you're going to need for this job are, I don't know if you want to write this down because there's a lot, but also different vehicles, they try to switch up different bolts or if somebody worked on it. But I'll try to give you a run through of what I had to use. 15 millimeter. 13 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter, 13 millimeter, 12 millimeter, 7 millimeter, 16 millimeter, 11 millimeter, and I believe this is 18 millimeter. Oh, and this is for hose clamps and stuff, another 7 millimeter. I know some of those are repeats, but you'll need like multiple and you're trying to do all kinds of stuff. And I had to use a 7/16 wrench. That's only because I didn't have something else that would fit because it was a rusty bolt. 10 millimeter wrench. I think it's a 16 millimeter line wrench. And that's for the radiator. And then some wire cutters, some extensions. You'll need a flat blade, a Phillips. I mean, you might as well. I mean, while you're here, just pull out the whole entire box. You're going to need a whole kit probably because there's such various different sizes. You need sometimes 2 of each. But front bumper is held on by a 7 millimeter screw right there in each corner, one on either side. And then you want to move down underneath and you'll find these push clips. You just pull up on the center and then pry the whole clip out. You got one here, way off. Sorry about that. You got one here, one here. You got one here, one here, here, here. These 2 here, and then your other 7 millimeter bolt right in there. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side of these clips. So you got 8 clips and 2 screws on the bottom. Now we'll work our way up top, and you're going to find these on top as well. On the top side, you're going to have one here, 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 there. So 8 on top as well. So I popped them up. You can see you just pull up on the center. And then you take your pry tool, get down underneath it, and then pry the whole piece out. So I'll get those out. Once you pull all those clips out, you'll need a pry tool to get in here because this chrome piece snaps into the headlight here on both sides. So as you pull forward, kind of pry out a little bit. Of course, you want to use probably a plastic pry tool if you care about your vehicle or your headlights aren't ruined like mine. So I have another set of headlights I'm about to put in this as well. This is my winter beater, and I've been really hesitant on replacing this radiator. It's needed it for 2 years, but my EGR valve tube rusted out, so I went to take that off and broke off, if you can really see, broke off the bolts in. Broke the bolts off right in the exhaust manifold. So then I tried drilling those out, and that's not working so well. So then I thought maybe about pulling the exhaust manifold. Well, I figured, you know what, let's rip this whole front end apart while we're trying to do this job and just do everything. So let's work on one thing at a time. So now we're working on the radiator. I've given up on that EGR tube for right this minute. Some question why I'm even doing this, and believe me, I do myself. It's got 235,000 miles on it, but the thing just keeps running, so I don't want to give up on her yet. So let's try and get this front bumper leaned forward and see what we find underneath that. As you start pulling out on the top, and you've got these unclipped out of here, you want to pull out on the edges of the fender where it locks in here. Okay, and there we go. Starting to come off. And now you want to disconnect your fog lights. Probably replace the bulbs while you're in here if you haven't in a while. On the fog lights, counterclockwise, quarter turn, whole bulb pops out. And then that comes off. At this point, you probably want to drain it. Also, this is your top mount. It's got a bolt here you pull out, and a bolt here. Pull the mounts off, and the radiator is going to come out the top. I didn't see any bolts on the bottom. I'm going to look again, but that's our next step, is getting these off and probably disconnecting the shroud with the fan assembly. So let me get in there and check that out. I went ahead and changed my glove because it was driving me crazy too. But after you remove these bolts here, 13 millimeter on either side. This here, it wasn't even all the way in, but you rock it from side to side and pull it out. It's air intake that goes right into the battery to keep the battery cool, I'm assuming. Next, you want to remove this air dam. Held on a little pin there, so you get your pry tool on that. Pry that out, and then it lifts off the top of the condenser, and that's just to make more room. Looks like the condenser, I'll show you here, clips onto the front of the radiator, so it's going to have to unclip here and on this side and lift it off the radiator. It clips down here too. See if we can get a good shot of that. So I'm going to take off the, I'm not going to remove the whole condenser, just going to disconnect it and probably lean it forward so I can get access to the radiator. I went ahead and removed these two push clips as well, just to gain a little access and probably get a better camera view on it. Probably don't need to though. Right here is the drain for the radiator. So it's got a screw head in there. So you want to turn that counterclockwise, and antifreeze should start to flow. Doesn't look like it's set up very good, but we'll try to catch it. Turn that screw all the way counterclockwise, and then it'll start draining. Not really very clean drain because it drips right onto the frame there, but we're going to try and catch it all. This is an 05. My 06 Torrent, I have a video on draining that radiator on another job, and you turn this counterclockwise and there's actually a hose coming off of it. Well, a little cock sticking off that you could put a hose on it. This just runs down the frame and makes a big mess. Luckily I got a bucket here to catch it all, and it's set up on a drain, but it just like literally just runs down the frame and then drips off. And when it's coming out faster, it was just dripping all over the place. It's ridiculous. Engineers don't care about you draining it or doing it correctly. Probably have some special tool to pop on there and extract it. But this is what we're dealing with. So I'll let this drain and get back at you. As you can hear, it's still draining down there. But what I realized is, even though I got these unclipped, this condenser unclipped from the radiator, it doesn't give you a lot of room to wiggle it. So my air conditioning doesn't work anyway. I think it's got a bad O-ring, so I'm going to check those. But it's a couple of 13 millimeter nuts, one right there and one right there. Looks like I got to pull off to remove the condenser. So let's go for that. If you're not removing the headlight, I am, but I didn't yet. I found what works is a deep well 13, and a really long extension, and then come out the side with it, and then you could take off the nut for the air conditioning there. This one I got to readily easily with the This one I got to pretty easy with just a deep well on the ratchet. We're back again, and it's still draining down there. Unbelievable. But what you want to do is I'm going to disconnect the fan, the plugs for the fan. So you need a 16 millimeter to remove the transmission line here. I just threw a little bit of heat on it, but it seems like it was protected well up inside there, even though it was really corroded. And then I'm just unbolting this because the lines are completely clipped in all the way around. And this one is an 8. So there's one bolt here and one on the top on the other side of the shroud. So you pull those off, and then the radiator should pull. Well, I got to disconnect the bottom radiator transmission line, and then you'll be able to pull it out. Okay, sorry I had to add this piece in because somehow this clip got deleted talking about removing the radiator. So after you pull the 2 bolts off and the transmission lines and your hoses off, you can just lift this fan shroud and everything up about 2 inches and off of the hooks. It hooks onto on the bottom of the radiator. Once you pull it back, you can leave it in place if you're not replacing anything else, and then just remove the radiator straight out of the front here. In my case, I had to replace all transmission lines, everything, so I removed the whole shroud and everything. Gives you a little more room, but you don't have to remove it. So in fact, you can really kind of see I end up replacing all the lines. And what I use there is I had to get a special barb right from AutoZone. It screws into the same as a transmission line would, and it has a barb, a 3/8 barb on the end of it. So then I used the high compression hose fittings, and I did that for the top and bottom. and then just ran all new rubber lines over to the transmission. And then I just left about 3 inches coming off the transmission and put it on there with high compression clamps as well. So after you get your radiator back together, everything's back together, you fill your radiator through the overflow, which is technically the holding tank. And you want to loosen this, I think it's a 7mm bleeder screw to allow air to escape. And then you want to burp the system once you get it all full. Once you see fluid coming out of here, go ahead and tighten it down. Not real hard. This is plastic, so they snap off. And then to burp the system, about 3 years ago I did a video on my Pontiac Torrent, which shows the whole process of burping the system. If you want to fast forward, it's like 4 minutes and 40 seconds into the video. The Pontiac Torrent, it's a water pump replacement, but it shows you how to burp it. It's got the exact same setup. So get the whole system burped, and then you're ready to go. Just put everything back in the reverse order. So once you fill your radiator, you got to check your transmission fluid because your tranny lines go into the transmission. In order to do that, see if we can get a light on it. That yellow handle right there behind the motor mount. I have not found a way to do it with the motor mount in place. So what you have to do is take out this bolt here, this bolt here. There's one sticking out right there that you can see. And then it goes from the other side with the bolt going through the motor mount there. In order to get to that one, you gotta go in there, right there it is, right through the motor mount. And you remove the motor mount. These three that go into the engine are 15mm. The bolt here on the other side is 18mm. And once you get all that out, I know you can't see it and it's impossible to see, but on the base of that yellow handle back there is a 12mm that you have to pull out. Then you can pull the dipstick while the vehicle's running and check the fluid, which is good. So you have to lower the vehicle, start it, raise it back up, and then check your fluid. And then to add it, the only thing I found was a really long funnel going all the way up. And we did it with 2 people. I had my brother lay down here and check the oil, and I filled from the top. It's the only way we found to do it. But then to button everything back up, you put these 3 back in. This one, and this one. Oh, right here. Sorry, I was looking at the camera. So you put those 3 back in, tighten this back up. Once your fluid's full, and don't forget your 12mm hidden all the way in the back. See, I don't even think with a light you can see anything. Oh, there you go, right there. It's bolted down, but what an awesome place for a dipstick. And then once you unbolt it, you have to pry it out because it's been in there so long that the plastic swells and gets stuck in there. But I'm sure there's a way to do it without removing this motor mount, but it made it so much easier to just get rid of the motor mount, do all the fluid, and then check it that way. And then now I'm going to put the motor mount back in. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like. And hope you have a good day. Thank you.